Hey guys, it's Tristan here from Zebra Invest, and today we've got a cracking video for you. We're going to sit down and run through how you can grow and build your service accommodation portfolio. Whether you're looking to kind of build out your portfolio in the way you're buying, refurbishing, and refinancing and moving that into service accommodation, or you're looking to try and get out there and build your own rent-to-SA or management side of it. Liam's actually done quite a few rent-to-rents, built his own management company, and in doing so has actually managed to get out there and buy his own property and moved up from just doing from the hard work and hassle of just managing to actually owning and investing himself. So got a few bit questions and bits to kind of run through with you, and hopefully we can give someone else a little bit of inspiration and answers along the way. So when it kind of came to it, I think we've spoken about this before, but when it came to it, what type of agents did you work with when you were trying to find stuff from letting agents to try and manage or find opportunities?
So thanks, Paul, for having me on here, and hopefully we can give people some value who's watching this. When it comes down to the types agents to work with, always go with local agents, always go with people that you can walk in, have a conversation with, have a cup of coffee, take them a cup of coffee, and basically sit down and talk about their stock. And you really want to be on their list as the preferred person. So you go to them, you offer your services first. In other words, you go in there and you actually say, hey, do you ever have somebody who is bought a home and they're selling theirs, but they want to complete the sale, but need somewhere to stay for a short period of time, because I'm the person you call during that time. And then they will realize that you are legit, and then you can say, hey, have you got any other stock or properties which may be struggling to shift on the rent to rent side, or something a bit quirky, and you can pick stuff up that way.
Nice one. So when the whole business of it, how did you kind of build and grow your reputation to kind of, one, demonstrate to that agent or to other people, okay, yeah, I'm credible?
Slowly is the answer. So you have to, first of all, take one example and then do it well. So whatever you take on, make sure you do always pay the rent on time, keep the building in good quality, and then you actually want to ask either the agents, or you want to talk to them about, you want to go back in every once in a while and just say, hey, just these are the pictures from yesterday, just showing you how good the property is. Talk about what you do. At the end of the day, people won't know, and you want to be known as a trusted party, so they're more likely to recommend more to you. When it comes down to building that reputation, reputation for what we do is obviously on two sides. Unlike most property where there's just one person at the end, ours is both the landlord or the management, the person we manage for, and also the guest. So you want to make sure in your systems that you're asking for a review from everybody who has any touch points, whether that is the owners. You want to be saying, once everything's set up and it's starting to go well, maybe after the first month, second month, you want to be asking for a review on things like Google or Trustpilot, but you want to be doing that after every guest stay. And the good news is about what we do, because there's so many turnovers of guests, you can build up quite a good reputation quite quickly, as long as you're doing what you should be doing and doing it well.
So I'm guessing the reputation and all of that, just trying to feedback, get everyone to leave your reviews. And if anyone's ever taken a look or Googled me, you can find reviews all online, which inevitably it's the same process. You just ask someone and say, hey, I'm doing X, Y, Z, let me know how you think, how's it gone, whatever else. Anyone you've dealt with professionally, because again, even if you're, whether you've got one or two properties, or whether you're trying to grow it, or I think we did it with Chapelfield, where you're like, look, to try and get a few more direct bookings, why didn't you actually get a load of reviews or try and get a few people to review the property? Yeah. They were all legitimate, trust me.
But you also have, so when guests are staying, another way to build that reputation is just make sure every guest, first of all, knows to book direct. So we have loads of messaging in our places to get them to book direct. And the reason to do that is to cut out the commission which is paid by the owner to Airbnb or Booking.com or by us as the rent-to-rent agent. So it saves everyone money, but then also let that guest know if they have anybody who they want to come and stay in that property or any of the others, is that they get a £25 gift voucher. This is what we do if they recommend somebody else who books. So ultimately, we're trying to get more people in. Yeah. And that's building on our reputation, because it's a win-win-win. They recommend us, which helps they feel good because they've recommended a good service in the area. The other person knows that we're a trusted party because their friend used them. And then that original party gets a £25 gift voucher as a thank you. And people love that sort of stuff.
So one of it is, previously we've spoken about networking, but what kind of, have you got like a stand-up pitch that you've used that kind of really helps get people like understanding, Liam's a go-to guy to talk to?
So build on the reputation. So when I now stand up, is we've got the most 5-star reviews in my area for what I do. I am the highest rated person for what I do in my area. We've got the most reviews, which is super important. So try and give a tangible metric that you can tell people about. A few years ago, I was lucky enough to take part in a multi-author book, and it was a best-selling book on Amazon. So now I stand up and go, I'm a best-selling author. It sounds good when you're pitching this stuff. But I'm going to look at networking. So I know we've talked to another previous sort of bits of content about networking to try and get more stock. One way you can get more stock is to be the go-to guy by creating your own WhatsApp group. So most people look at competition, like other people who do what you do, as competition. Instead of looking at them like competition, when you're at these networking events, if you find somebody else does what you do, say, do you mind if we're in a group together, create a WhatsApp group, call it, name your place, SA group, SDR group, whatever it is, and start to collect people. And what I mean by that is collect other people who do what you do, whether or not they're a better business, bigger business, smaller business, doesn't matter what they are. Just collect them within this group. And then every time they ask, they want some advice on what they do, be the person, if you know the answer, who answers it, or put them in touch with, somebody who solved that problem. And what you quickly do is you build up a good reputation, which I know we're talking about here, but also you then get the benefit that if they need help or they've got a property or there's an opportunity, several times by doing this, I get contacted privately by a member of the group and go, this person's thinking about selling, or this person's thinking about doing rent to rent. I can't take it on, but you were the first person I thought to in the group. So that's a great way to build reputation, network, and win.
So one of the bits, obviously, with the challenge of any business, well, like whether you're flipping, whether you're developing, whether you've got buy-to-lets, it's always cash flow. How do you kind of as you're trying to scale up the business, how do you manage to kind of keep on top of it, look forward, and also make sure it's increasing so then you get the next one?
So this is the best thing about serviced accommodation is cash flows up front. We get paid. We're the only property thing where you get paid so far in advance. If somebody books now for Christmas, I get at least 20% in my bank account now. So cash flow is normally quite good. So it's quite a forgiving industry. However, what everybody needs to be aware of is that in many places, depending on where you are, it is very seasonal. So you'll suddenly feel really happy in August and you'll suddenly feel really sad, like we're recording this in February. And, naturally revenue is lower now than it is in August because we're in a seasonal part of the world. But it's kind of, first of all, getting the advice from somebody who's been it before, which is what you're doing now by watching this, but also just try and plan that cash flow is going to go up and down. And because cash flow is going to go up and down, that a good time to start looking to perhaps get another rent is October time, September time, because this is right when you've just had your biggest cash flow. So you're then able to then fund the next bit of,
I always wondered whether kind of April was probably the best time to get the service accommodation, because then you get the summer months, you kind of get all that cash flow into the business, so then it can then help ride out the winter months. It is,
but the trouble is that you need the cash there to do it in the first place. Now, first one that I stuck everything on a credit card to get the furniture and to get everything in place. Now, fortunately, the first deal was quite good for us. We were making on average between £1,000 and £1,500 profit each month, so it was very quick to pay off what we invested. These days, I'm a little bit more savvy. I mean, So to get the best deal really on that, spend as least as you can to get the maximum effect. I overspent because I had emotion put into it as my first one. The second thing I'll do is I'd now look to either lease, or you can use rental companies for linen and stuff like that. I put a lot of money in up front, which I perhaps didn't need to. So all these things would help, because ultimately you're just looking to make that margin between what's going out and what's coming in each month. But all of a sudden, by the time you're on 4 or 5, it's very quick and easy then to take on another one. Do be careful of the VAT levels and things like that. So usually get to around 3, and then be conscious that you'll need to pay VAT. So you need to build that into your pricing structure.
Alrighty. So did you set like some goals when you're at the beginning? It's like, well, where do we want to get to? Well, I think you've got goals now, but where do you want to get to in a certain year, and break it down? How did you do that to make sure that you were going and building that service accommodation?
So goals-wise, I was like, hey, I just want to get out of work. That's the first thing I wanted to do. I managed to do that within 6 to 8 months. I managed to get out of work a little bit too early. I was because COVID came along not far after that. But so that was the first goal. So you do want to set yourself goals. At the same time, instead of just having goals, I found that you can have the best goals in the world, but ultimately it's about implementation. So break your, whatever your target is. So for instance, this year, we were just talking about it before we recorded, I'm looking to actually double the number of properties on our portfolio, but actually that already works out to 3 a month. So I know a target, break them down to manageable bite-sized chunks and implement. Don't just have a goal, which is, airy-fairy, just break it down, work it backwards.
Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the trouble.
It's got to be achievable.
Well, most people make goals and then they get a year later and go, oh, I didn't achieve that goal. But actually, if you break it down by month to month or by actual, what do I need to do? The lead measure to get there.
I think the main bit, if you do set a goal and you break it down, actually more often than not, I set my goals each year. I get to the end of the year, it's like, I'm pretty nigh on, I'm pretty damn close to it. It's like, you may not have made it, but actually by setting it, you've gone far further than you would have done just aimlessly moving on.
And ultimately, don't beat yourself up if you don't do it as well, because you can get caught in that kind of, oh, I'm not achieving my goals, so I'm not very good at it. Always try and think, how would I feel about myself if I saw myself 2 years ago? How would I feel about myself today? And often that will change your, you might not have hit your goal that you are today, but ultimately you'll feel good about yourself compared to what you were 2 years ago.
The last bit I was going to touch on is obviously now you've got a whole service accommodation business. The whole idea, as he just said, his goal was to replace his job, get out of it, and have a nice, relaxing life. And I don't think it's necessarily quite happened like that, but clearly you've got into outsourcing, working with a few other people to try and make your life easier. Have you got any tips that might help anyone else who's building their portfolio?
Yeah, so I would say one of the things which helped me is that the mindset of going, I can't afford to have anyone, works up until a point. But the minute you are needing some help, so the minute you find there's too many tasks to do and not enough time to do them, then I look to hire overseas virtual assistant staff. And this really has transformed my business because all of a sudden I could, and that would be a whole different podcast, so we can talk about exactly how to do that. But we can now outsource all of the low value stuff. So right now, as I sit there recording this, there's people answering guest messages, there's people able to respond to cleaners and stuff like that. So outsourcing is super important. And if anybody wants any more information, like perhaps DM you and put in touch. Yeah.
Cool, all right. Well, thank you very much, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you've got any questions or comments, drop them in there below. Hopefully you like the video and subscribe to the channel. We've got 1 or 2 things we're going to go through, a couple other videos. So if you haven't already had a look through, there's a few videos on the channel, all going through service accommodation. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and we'll catch you later.